parasites are clearly a problem that they went out of their way to subvert us from looking at. And I can tell you from the time I was in medical school till now, they have changed the way we do medicine, and it really benefits not ever finding that. The second thing is toxins. Okay, so what a great scheme to tell us there are all these different transmissible viruses. Now, without getting into the science of this, I'm just going to tell anybody that can read science should go and try and convince themselves about the actual existence of viruses. I always thought, I'm an orthopedic surgeon, it's not my field, I'll let those guys do it. I'm sure the virologists are doing this, until a virologist, Stefan Lanka, stepped forward and said, wait a minute, they don't exist.
The germ theory is complete BS. They injected people with all kinds of germs and they never got sick. Hundreds or thousands of people. That doesn't even work. A virus doesn't even exist. What they call a virus is a detoxification process. If the cell is toxic, it cleanses itself. It builds it back, throws it back out so that it gets out of the cell. Modern medicine looks at this, or the scientist, and says, oh, there's all these bags. What are all these bags? And now we are doctors, we need to know what they are. So if we tell them we don't know what they are, they don't believe us anymore. So we come up with something and say that's a virus, which of course it means poison. Of course it's poison because the cell just detoxified itself. What is bacteria eating? Bacteria is eating the decay. That's why they put maggots on, in the olden days, on open wounds, because the maggots only eat the decay. They don't eat the healthy flesh. The flu or the cold is nothing else, detoxification. Your body is so highly toxic and needs to get rid of the stuff, and then you get the so-called flu or cold. It's not an illness, it's a detoxification process. Vomiting, diarrhea, sweating, it's just detoxification. Just give the body 4 liters of water or a gallon of water a day with half a teaspoon of pink salt in it, and you are absolutely fine.
Yes, the COVID-19 doesn't exist. What does COVID-19 stand for?
A certificate of vaccination ID.
What does 19 stand for?
What, Dr. Day?
It stands for AI, artificial intelligence.
Wow, 1 in 9!
1 in 9 for...
The United Kingdom is heavily vaccinated against COVID-19. But that hasn't stopped the public from continuing to die, allegedly, of COVID-19. Funny how that works. New data quietly released by the British government confirms that more than 90% of COVID deaths in the country are among those who received a COVID shot. Dr. Judy Mikovits says none of this should even be news at all. She's here to argue that literally every single virus in the past decade plus has in fact been the creation of our own medical industrial complex through their use of vaccines that they create to treat them. Dr. Judy Mikovits is back with us again. Always a pleasure. We appreciate you being here.
Nice to be here again, Stu.
So when we say on this program, died of COVID-19, we know what we're talking about. But you agree that semantics are important, and for the purpose of trying to break through to the mainstream so that people understand this, they have to wrap their heads around something that they could never possibly imagine, which is that COVID-19 and many viruses are actually deployed upon them. They're not something that they just naturally catch in the wild, correct?
Correct. Absolutely correct. In fact, every virus since HIV has been a gain of function deployed infection by injection. HIV was spread through the hepatitis B vaccination in the early 90s. That's where the gain of function HIV, which never was LAV associated with gay-related immune deficiency. AIDS was never gay-related immune deficiency. So there is no natural virus. And this is what everybody's always been arguing about. There's no such thing as a virus. Yeah, they're viruses. They're little bioweapons that they created, and it's always been, since 1980, infection by injection in heavily contaminated vaccines grown in animal tissue, aborted fetal cell lines, cow viruses, pig viruses, bird viruses, monkeys, simian immune deficiency, SV40 associated with lung cancer. Yes, this is a 40-year bioweapons program by Tony Fauci. They were created at Fort Detrick in full collaboration with the Russians, with the China, with Japan. I trained people in the lab how to grow these cultures. So they will deploy them, and they have deployed them. And it always is infection by injection.
We're going to talk about premeditated deployment here in a second, because now, we've known this for a very long time, but now there's actually proof that government officials from around the world were colluding to actually deploy the bioweapon. But the thing that people get caught up on, Dr. Judy, is, okay, so if this is infection by injection, as you've stated, which we agree with, how did people originally get sick with this COVID-19 virus?
The SARS-CoV-2, the monkey virus, has been injected in every polio vaccine since it was created and published in the Journal of Virology in 2004. And again, a collaboration with Germany, a collaboration with the Chinese, Harvard, UMass, United States.
Yeah, so your detractors are going to say, well, then why didn't it show up until 2020?
Because it didn't make most people sick, did it? It was the common cold. So in 2019, it didn't show up in 2020. It's been shown up and exacerbated by every flu shot. It was clear from the Wolf paper in 2020 that anybody who got a flu shot, military athletes, everybody got a flu shot between 2017 and 19, were 36% more likely to die to be diagnosed with COVID. It's an inflammatory disease that 5G can contribute to, that glyphosate is centrally located to. So all you had to do was inject the agent and then detonate it with the right trigger. I worked at Fort Detrick from June 10th, 1980 until May 11th, 2001, from the entry level to the highest level director of the Lab of Antiviral Drug Mechanisms. We knew exactly the variants being created. We did not know at the time the game. Now we know the game. SARS-CoV-2 is not a coronavirus. It's part AIDS, part syncytin snake venom, and part SARS. That was what was weaponized and created in 2004.
So you don't believe that this was a lab leak from Wuhan, China, do you?
No, it was shipped from Fort Detrick, and I said it in Joshua Phillips, April 8th, 2020. I said it. You ship them in little vials across the world to biosafety level 4, where they released it because they had to drive their Bat Cave narrative.